All right, we have some news to talk about, although this news is different than the typical kind of news I talk about on this channel. It is more of a sports entertainment news discussion we will be having, as the Pat McAfee show is now going to be a part of ESPN. I haven't yet seen anywhere what the actual details are, if it's a straight buyout or if they're just moving there for a period of time. So there's only so much we do know, but there are several things that we do know. So I want to talk about in this video what we know and what this could potentially mean for the Pat McAfee show, along with the landscape of sports entertainment on YouTube as a whole. First things first, I think it's important to talk about, he did have a $30 million a year contract with FanDuel that he was currently just in his second year of, and reportedly he will now have to leave that deal. So if he's leaving that deal, which I assume is true, that means that there's got to be some big money going on with ESPN absorbing him to make the buyout in that scenario worth it. And again, people have also speculated, is $30 million a year actually $30 million a year? Sometimes those numbers do get kind of shifted a little bit to make it seem more impressive, similar to how NFL contracts work. That's possible, but definitely ESPN is making sure they go out and get McAfee, which certainly makes sense from their perspective. McAfee is, has a very popular show, and you're getting rid of one of your competitors in the same move. It does kind of make some sense. And just to be clear on what the show will now be, if you are a Pat McAfee fan, what he has said on his video where he announced that he will be joining ESPN, there will now be a 1-hour show airing 5 days a week. So just one of their regular shows now will be Pat McAfee, and it will be airing on ESPN, on ESPN Plus, and on YouTube all simultaneously. And so a lot of fans have speculated, well, how is this going to change the show itself? What's going to happen? And there's obviously going to be just some changes. It can't be the exact same. The most obvious one that McAfee even admitted to is the language aspect. They're going to have to clean up their language, and ESPN does have more strict rules on language than even some other cable companies have, which is definitely something that I think is going to matter. It's an ESPN, or it's a Disney company at the end of the day. So for ESPN, yeah, they are going to be a little bit stricter with certain words and also certain jokes. They will not be okay with being said, that a lot of Pat McAfee fans have become accustomed to being said, because that is part of the Pat McAfee show as a whole. And really, the discussion of how much is going to change with the show is definitely at the heart of this conversation, and a lot of fans are very concerned that big changes are coming, bringing up the Joe Rogan situation, where Joe Rogan took a big deal to sign with Spotify for exclusive rights, and he said, hey, nothing's changing. I'm just going to be on Spotify exclusively now. That's all it is. There's nothing different. But, there have been changes, like previous episodes not coming over to Spotify and things of that nature that definitely, in hindsight make you say, okay, is this going to happen with Pat McAfee as well, where he's going to go into it saying nothing's going to change, but then maybe certain things will happen that will make him want to change. Perhaps, the obvious things that jump out in my head are, well, what if there's a scandal at ESPN? Is he going to cover it the same way he would if he was independent? Also, McAfee has a very good relationship with Ian Rappaport, who works at NFL Network, who notoriously, or not notoriously, but typically, traditionally, people from NFL Network don't tend to cross over with ESPN. ESPN tends to be very careful with who they let cross over and who they let talk to other people from other networks. So because of that, McAfee will probably have to get approval with all of his guests. And another thing that just jumps out at you is the whole Aaron Rodgers Tuesdays thing. I do wonder, if he was on ESPN, would they have allowed Aaron Rodgers to kind of do his, COVID stuff and talk about, his opinions on COVID? Would sponsors have been upset about that? Could sponsors have pulled out? And if a sponsor pulls out because something McAfee does, and then McAfee, McAfee's going to have to do something about it, potentially, right? Is ESPN just going to say, well, we lost some sponsorships, that's the way it goes? Or are they going to talk to McAfee and say, hey, can you maybe, not talk about this specific topic because it's getting sponsors upset? A very, I think, apt comparison to make could be, McAfee used to work for Barstool Sports. We've seen, pardon my take, who is a Barstool Sports podcast, they had an ESPN show for exactly one episode. They had an ESPN show, but after the first episode, where reportedly they did everything right, they passed all the censors and all of that stuff. But due to just the what people know about Barstool and kind of the negative things that they know about Barstool Sports, it created a controversy, and ESPN eventually decided the juice wasn't worth the squeeze in that scenario. Could a McAfee thing happen as well, where people go back, look at his previous bad jokes, and say, you know what, maybe we don't want this guy at Disney, which again notoriously wants to make sure things are pretty PG. Although the flip side is it could benefit in positive ways as well. I know McAfee has been trying to get Peyton Manning on his show for quite a long time. Could this happen, or could he get Peyton Manning? And could he get more ESPN personalities just in general on the show who maybe wouldn't come on for the same reason I talked about? The fact that ESPN personalities don't exactly get free range to just go wherever. That's definitely something I could see happening. So could the show change? Well, again, what McAfee said on his show was the following.
Why would ESPN want to license our show and then change it entirely? That would make no sense. Why would I want to go to a place and have to change the program entirely? That makes no sense.
We're too dumb to change.
Which to me, quite frankly, it's just not a very good point whatsoever. Why would ESPN buy a show to then change everything? Okay, well, no one's saying that they're going to change everything, but they could change some things to appease sponsors and things that I've already mentioned. They bought your show because they still like you and you're a big personality and you are a competitor on the online space, and they hope that they can break into the YouTube market a little bit better by acquiring you. That's obviously why. And why would you accept to go on a network that you're going to have to change your show? Well, money. I mean, there's obvious reasons why that would happen. We totally get that. That's not assuring whatsoever, though we are too dumb to change. Again, I guess the argument would be they're too dumb to take a bag of money to, change, I think is what he's trying to say there. But again, maybe that's true. I don't know Pat McAfee, though. I don't know him as a person. Neither do most of you, so I get why some fans are concerned. And if you look at the comments on this YouTube video that he posted, they are very concerned with what could happen. These are just the top comments. These are just the top comments that are on my personal feed. I think it does change depending on your feed, I believe, sometimes. But these were the top ones on my feed. And you see, please don't let this show be ruined was at the top. Hearing athletes be open, honest, casually talking, and dropping the F-bomb was the goal of this show. This show might stink now. From a bro show to a dad show. Gonna miss you guys. This is a huge mistake. ESPN is going to ruin this show. Make no mistake about it. Bummer news. Congrats on the bags of money, though, guys. No more cussing. No AJ cigar. No toxic table humor. No more what made this show the show. Good game, boys. It's been fun. Rest in peace to this beautiful show. It's been an honor watching Pat and the boys every day for 6 years. It's a sad day to be a PMS fan, and then the absolute free flow of being able to say anything at any time was the soul of this show. Again, those are just the top comments. I didn't pick out anyone. If there was any positive comments, I would have left it in there. It was very negative. So those are just kind of the opinion and the counter opinion. I don't know if it's necessarily going to ruin the show, him being on ESPN. He has worked with ESPN in the past, so I don't know if it's entirely in. He has a good relationship with them, does College Game Day, and part of this deal is going to be him being able to do other stuff for ESPN, not just his show, I'm assuming. But at the end of the day, I can get why some fans, if you really like the show, can be a little concerned about stuff like this. But at the end of the day, we'll see how it comes together. I think the other aspect of this is just how does it affect the viewers, the watchers? I mean, McAfee came out and said part of why he wanted to accept this deal is because he wants to make it easier for other people who are in the media landscape to get jobs, working for companies, which is, I don't know how much I buy that. I think he's taking the deal because it's best for him and his people and the people around him is the reason why he's taking the deal, not because he cares about about if he can get Jackson Kruger Sports to get a YouTube to get a ESPN show someday. I don't think that really is too much of a factor. And plus, also, he played in the NFL. Like, him getting a job at ESPN is a little different than like Brett Kollmann being able to make videos for the the NFL YouTube channel and things like that. I think those are two very different. Although Kollmann has worked for NFL Network in the past, but not in any not as a talent, not as talent. So definitely different there. But there's that aspect, and then there's also the just how does it affect the people that watch? Not just Pat McAfee, but shows in general. I think it's good to have many different people doing different things, and kind of part of what McAfee brings to the table is a guy who isn't attached to anybody but has connections with everybody, and that was kind of the appeal of McAfee, or at least part of the appeal. So I do think that this is a loss at the end of the day for the viewers. At the end of the day, having as many different people making content is always going to benefit the content watcher. It gives you more options to choose from. This now means you have less options to choose from. It's 1 hour time slot on ESPN that's getting cut away. And for McAfee, again, there could be changes with him, and his show might be more of just another ESPN style show. Having different styles of shows is also good for the watcher. So I do think it's probably bad news, but I don't know if it's massively bad news, but it might be. We just have to wait and see how things turn out. But yeah, very interesting story. Those are my thoughts on it. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.